Jack Mercer had always lived in the shadow of forgotten legends. As a boy, he would sit cross-legged on the porch beside his grandfather, a disgraced archaeologist whose career had ended in ridicule after claiming that an ancient race had hidden golden gods deep in an uncharted valley. Most dismissed the story as the ramblings of an old man, but Jack didn't. When his grandfather passed, he left behind one thing, a hand-drawn map and a note that read, "The Arcadi were real. Find the Valley of Beasts." Now in his late 20s, Jack had never quite fit into the modern world. Working odd jobs and scouring old books, he finally decided to follow the map and test his modest metal detector in the wild. He set out for Central America, where rumors of a cursed valley matched the location his grandfather described. After bribing locals and crossing through miles of dense jungle, he arrived at the edge of a ravine choked with vines and missed the forbidden valley. The village elder who guided him partway warned him with a final plea, "Turn back. That valley swallows men. It's where gods sleep and beasts breathe gold." Jack only nodded and pressed on, his detector in hand, heart thumping with the weight of generations. Inside the valley, the air felt different, charged, as though the jungle itself were watching. Daylight filtered through the thick canopy in golden beams, giving everything an ethereal glow. Jack wandered for hours, the detector chirping occasionally at old nails, coins, or junk. Just as doubt began to creep in, the detector suddenly shrieked in unfamiliar, piercing tone unlike anything he'd heard before. He froze. Kneeling down, he brushed aside moss and leaves to reveal the tip of something golden embedded in the earth. With trembling hands, he began to dig, expecting a buried statue or maybe a piece of armor. But what emerged was unlike anything he had ever imagined. Massive paw, sculpted in impossible detail, made entirely of radiant, untarnished gold. It was no ordinary artifact. The golden limb appeared feline in form, powerful and majestic, but fused with feathers and claws like a mythical hybrid. Its surface shimmered as though alive. And then, as Jack's dirt-covered hand rested on it, he felt a low vibration. The paw twitched. Jack scrambled back, heart racing. The detector buzzed wildly and then died altogether, its circuits fried. Around him, the jungle suddenly grew quieter, as if holding its breath. In that frozen moment, Jack knew this was no ordinary treasure. Whatever he had found wasn't meant to be disturbed. Yet he couldn't look away. There was more beneath the soil, something vast, ancient, and very much awake. He had come in search of gold. Instead, he had touched something sacred, and whatever it was waking up. Unseen in the mist, eyes began to open. Shapes moved behind trees. The jungle no longer felt empty. Jack was no longer alone, and his journey had only just begun. Jack stared at the golden paw he had unearthed, stunned and breathless. The ground around him pulsed with energy, and an eerie stillness had blanketed the jungle, as if nature itself had frozen in awe of fear. He stepped closer again, slowly, cautiously, and reached out to touch the golden paw one more time. As his fingers grazed it, the earth trembled. A low, thunderous hum rose from beneath the soil, like a deep chant echoing through a massive chamber. The surrounding ground began to shift. Vines uncoiled, soil cracked. Before Jack's eyes, more golden forms pushed their way to the surface first. A broad wing of solid gold feathers, then a gleaming serpent head with sapphire eyes, and the crowned head of a horned humanoid beast sculpted from gold and fire-hued stone. These were not mere statues. These were living relics, gods and beasts from a forgotten age. The first to fully emerge was the creature Jack had partially uncovered, a massive, jaguar-like beast with feathered wings and burning amber eyes. It blinked at him, and then impossibly spoke, not with words, but with symbols and emotions projected into Jack's mind. Images of temples, blood rituals, and celestial fire filled his thoughts. "You are the key," the voice echoed in his head. "The blood of the speaker returns." As more creatures awoke, Jack realized he had triggered some kind of resurrection. The golden serpent slithered forward and coiled protectively around the base of a large, moss-covered platform and altar that began to rise from the jungle floor. From its top, an emerald flame ignited, casting strange ancient symbols into the air. The beasts assembled Hoffanimal gods, forged from gold, obsidian, and jewels towered above Jack. Each emanated raw power, but none harmed him. They seemed to recognize him, bowing their heads slightly as if in reverence. Jack saw a vision of an ancient high priest who looked remarkably like him, placing the gods into slumber during a great calamity. These gods were the Arcadia pantheon of elemental beings worshipped thousands of years ago. They were guardians of balance, creators of nature and time, and now, their sanctuary had been disturbed. One of the gods, a winged bull with ruby eyes, issued a final warning to Jack through a deep rumble in the earth. Others will come. They will not seek harmony. They will seek power. Jack realized the danger. Though he had come for discovery, others, mercenaries, collectors, and thieves, would come for gold, for glory, and for domination. Then he heard it, in the distance. The rhythmic chop of helicopter blades pierced the stillness. Through the gaps in the canopy, Jack saw them, 3 black helicopters approaching fast, carrying armed men. He must have triggered a signal or been tracked. The beasts turned toward the sound. Their golden forms shimmered in the dim jungle light, preparing for battle. Jack stood between two worlds, one ancient, sacred, and awakening, and one modern, greedy and armed. The gods had returned and war was coming. The jungle exploded into chaos as the helicopters descended into the valley, whipping up clouds of leaves and dust. Jack watched helplessly from the altar as armed mercenaries in black tactical gear rappelled down, weapons drawn and eyes fixed on the glinting forms of the golden beasts. These men weren't explorers, they were raiders, and they'd come to steal what they didn't understand. The golden serpent hissed, coiling protectively around the altar. The jaguar beast spread its wings and let out a roar that cracked the sky. Jack felt the gods shift into battle stances, their eyes glowing with ancient fury. The ground beneath him rumbled as roots and stone moved at their command. These were not passive relics. They were divine weapons. The mercenaries opened fire. Bullets pinged off the golden armor of the beasts, harmless as pebbles. The winged bull charged forward, scattering men like ragdolls with the shockwave of its hooves. The serpent lashed out, its tail crushing trees and bodies alike. One beast an eagle-headed warrior unleashed a wave of burning wind that turned the jungle air into flame. But the mercenaries came prepared. They launched explosive charges, some of which cracked golden limbs and sent chunks of the temple flying. Jack knew the gods could not fight forever, not without risking their own destruction. The balance was delicate. These gods were protectors, not conquerors. In a moment of silence amid the destruction, Jack stood atop the altar and shouted, "Stop! They don't want to rule, they only want to survive." But no one listened. To the mercenaries, he was just another obstacle, and to the gods, he was their last hope. Suddenly, one of the gods, a towering, four-armed deity, with a blazing crown, projected an image into Jack's mind, a hidden chamber beneath the altar. Inside lay the Heartstone, the core of the Arcades' power, and the key to resealing the sanctuary. Jack made his decision. Sprinting through the battle, dodging debris and gunfire, he descended into the chamber. There, encased in crystal, glowed the Heartstone, an orb of swirling gold and green energy. As he touched it, he felt the entire valley breathe. Back above, the gods began to retreat, sensing his intent. The temple shimmered with ancient light. Jack activated the Heartstone, and a dome of golden energy burst outward, engulfing the valley. Time seemed to freeze as vines, trees, and stone rewound, treeling, healing, hiding. The mercenaries vanished in a flash of light. The gods turned to Jack one last time, eyes solemn. The jaguar beast stepped forward and gently dropped a single golden feather into Jack's hand. The gods sank into the earth, their sanctuary cloaked in illusion once more. The jungle fell silent. Jack awoke on the edge of the valley, alone. His gear was gone. No sign of helicopters, mercenaries, or temple remained, only the golden feather, still warm in his palm. He returned home with no proof, no gold, and no glory. The world thought him mad, but sometimes at night, he'd hear a whisper in the wind. When the balance breaks again, you will be called. The gods were sleeping but not gone.